Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new Artsbeat TV and radio, and we're here at the Chester Theater Company in Chester, Massachusetts, and broadcasting on Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we are so glad to do the next couple of programs from the Chester Theater Company here in Chester, Massachusetts. It's the old town hall in Chester that during the summer becomes the theater. And we're sitting on stage. Behind us is the beginning of a set that you'll see beginning next week when the season opens. And with me, Tara Franklin, who's the co-artistic director and star of the upcoming first show, yep. And Gabby Farrah, who's the director. And first of all, Tara, you and James, we're like family. You're always on my show Valentine's Day yep. weekend, but it's not Valentine's Day, but it should yep. be.
I know. I feel the love in the room for sure.
Definitely. And for me, this is the second time that we've taken a show out on the road since I've come back to work this spring, and it's so good to be in a theater.
Yeah, you said it. I love being in here. I love when we transform it. It's just like coming home, you know, and sort of the anticipation of it all year. And then finally, oh my gosh, you know, we're here and all the people are here and we're doing the thing. And it's just like, yeah, it feels like this is the most comfortable place for me.
And this is the weekend before your in fact, when this show airs, the season will have airs next Friday. Mm-hmm. The season will be open. Yep. But this is that weekend before where there are lights to be focused and tech directions, and the set goes up and all of the heavy lifting before the first performance. So you guys must be working 12 hours a day.
Well, our minds are, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're in rehearsals right now. So I think it's very exciting. I'm excited to get into tech and to get into this space because right now we're across the way rehearsing.
So you actually rehearse in another place. Mm-hmm. Is the hall here that we're looking at, is that used as a town hall during the day, or is it pretty much yours?
Well, the town hall, the actual building, is used by, you know, several different people, and but this space becomes ours. And we actually rehearsed in here the first week before we had to build the theater in here, so it was really nice. We actually were in the space kind of like, you know, getting used to the sounds of it, mm-hmm. and but then they had to load all this in and we can't be around while they're doing that, so we moved across the street into the old elementary school, which is an interesting building as well.
Yeah. What seems interesting to me is there's not a lot of space from we are at the front of the stage to the last row in the audience. There's only like 5 rows of seats. Mm-hmm. So when people come to a show, it's actually as though you're watching it in your living room.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, I've been part of the audience here. I know you've been part of the audience here. It's just like you're, you know, you're part of it. You know.
What is it like as an actor when you're performing and you can literally see the faces of everybody out in the crowd?
Yep. And actually, you know, there are shows where, you know, we don't sort of acknowledge the audience as actors. You know, they're watching a story. But I've been on this stage where I've talked to the audience for 75 minutes, you know, and that was, and I think I've become more comfortable with that part of it. I think it was very difficult at first, but then when we were at Hancock Shaker Village and I was doing, you know, the tiny beautiful things, just having to talk to the audience and even pick certain people out, you know, and it can be unnerving in the very beginning, but then there's just a comfort to it, you know, if they're really listening.
It can be unnerving when you're in the audience. I just
yes.
saw The Mystery of Edwin Drood at Goodspeed, where the actors go out in the audience and they ask questions, and a couple of focus, they were right in front of me, and you know, you realize that everybody else in the audience is looking at you to see what your reaction's going to be. It's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So we open with a play by the playwright who wrote A Doll's House Part 2, which was on Broadway not too long ago, and really took the story of Ibsen's character and what happened after she left her husband and kind of goes back and looks years later. What is this play about?
This play, so the play is The Thin Place by Lucas Nath, and it's a play about, well, I think of it as like an epistemological test It asks questions about why we believe what we believe, how we know what we know, and it's sort of about the lengths we'll go to believe or not believe things based on our own experiences, our own feelings. I think Lucas Nath, as a writer, is really interested in turning an idea over or a question over and sort of finding the form that best serves that, and this is definitely a great example of it.
Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Does it have a little bit of both?
You can take
There are humorous moments.
Yeah.
It's not meant to, bring out a chuckle in everyone. It's sort of darkly funny at times, but pretty disturbing too. And I first read this play 4 years ago, and was definitely kind of like creeped out. Gave me like the hair stood up on the back of my neck. But I love the story, and I love the way that the playwright puts it all together, sort of in this, I don't want to say perfect little package, but I sort of love when, there's a play sort of within a play. And this is a bit of a memory play too. So I have not been in anything like this before. So this is new territory for me,
So you and your husband, James Barry,
Yep.
who are co-artistic directors and producers, also direct and act here, and you're in the first play. When you're reading scripts, as you read it, did you say, this is a part I want to play, we should do the play, or this is something Chester ought to do, and maybe I'll be lucky enough to get the part?
Yeah. Well, both and. I read this play long ago, and actually Gabby had introduced me to it. And Gabby was a student of mine at Smith, and then has been working in New York. But we knew that we wanted to do it at some point. And actually, originally, I wasn't going to be in it. I was going to be maybe in the last play, because James and I don't get to act together anymore. But then we realized, who would be running the theater? So we couldn't do that. And then I said, well, maybe I should put myself into this, And so we ran it by Gabby, who was already slated to direct it, and then everything kind of just came together after that.
How did you find the play?
Well, I had seen it in New York just before the pandemic in 2019. It was at Playwrights Horizons. It premiered first at Actors Theatre of Louisville at the Humana Festival, and then it had a production again at Playwrights Horizons. And I had read some of Lucas's other plays, but I'd never seen any of his plays, and this is definitely, I'm wary of giving away too much. I should also say the play is maybe just as a genre thing, a ghost story, a thriller. So I'm wary of giving away too much, but it's definitely the kind of thing that will, I hope, stick with you. And it's the kind of thing that can only be, that embraces theatricality and embraces having an audience and being in a room sharing space with people.
Now, the two of you met at Smith, where Tara teaches, and you were obviously a student. How has your career gone since leaving Smith?
Well, I graduated not so long ago, but before the pandemic, moved to New York, and I've been developing new plays and with a lot of different new play development organizations in New York. That's been sort of an interest of mine since college. So I've been doing a lot of that and assisting. And now I'm hopeful that I'll get to do some more stuff outside of New York as well too. Yeah.
What attracted you to the playwright? You said that you've seen a lot of his work done. Is there something that you said, I need to direct this, or what intrigued you about his work?
Well, just reading his work, it's very thought-provoking, but it doesn't feel didactic or preachy. He is really, really excellent at arguing both sides of an issue and looking at it from a million different ways in a way that feels to me fresh reading it, and it's just exciting because there's not necessarily always a clear moral or answer in his plays. You come away, I think, with a lot of questions, and so they stick with you for a long time. But then just seeing this and some of his other plays that are sort of in this vein, he's constantly reinventing and sort of like mining different theatrical ideas and putting them into his plays. And that's exciting to me as someone who loves form.
And we should probably say to people, if you're interested in anything that Chester is doing this summer, go to their website at chestertheater.org to order tickets, read a little bit of background on each upcoming play for the season, or get directions on how to get here. It's on Route 20 in the old town hall in Chester, and it's about 25 minutes west of downtown Westfield. So it's an easy drive. It's very pretty. I noticed driving up with the hills, everything's so green right now.
I know it is, and I have quite a commute from Williamstown, but I never mind it in the summer because it's just there's so much blooming.
Yeah, I mean, and the clouds today, as we're taping, it looks like it could rain, but there was blue sky. The shadows on the mountains are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not the only person in this. Who else is part of the cast?
So we have a wonderful cast. So we actually, I had originally wanted. Let me just say that I wasn't originally going to be doing this play, but I have a friend from grad school who lives in Connecticut. We became very, very good friends. She's an amazing actor, and she hasn't been acting a lot lately. She's got 2 teen girls, and they keep her very busy. But I said, I really need you to be in this play, and so she said, yeah, I'll do it. Her name is Tabitha McCown. And then we also have someone that Gabby has worked with. You want to talk a little bit about how you know him?
Jordan Bello, who's an actor from New York. I had worked with him at a theater company called Clubbed Thumb on a show that he was in that I assistant directed.
Yeah. And then rounding out the cast is Diane Prussia, who is a Shakespeare and Company actor when I first knew her. And then she and I did A Man for All Seasons at Berkshire Theater Group. And I was kind of reintroduced to her a couple years ago when she did The Children at Shakespeare and Company. And as Gabby and I were trying to, and James, we were trying to figure out who's going to play this role. It's a really tricky role. It's a big role. And I think all of us, because you had met Diane too at Shakespeare and Company, all of us just said, oh, yeah, Diane Prussia. She's going to be, this is it. And so we called her and she said, yeah, I'll do it.
Is it difficult for you taking on a role in the season opener while you're running the theater day to day?
Yeah, there are challenges. James and I really are kind of speaking the same language right now, and sort of like, he knows that he's got to do certain things. He's also the production manager this summer. So we are spending a lot of time here, but we're getting things done in a really, sort of calm and collected way. We prep a lot for this. And so when everything happens and everyone's arriving, we're ready. Not to say that I'm getting a large amount of sleep, but it's fun. I love that kind of energy. I kind of thrive on it. So.
It's like very intense for like 6 or 7 weeks during the summer, and the prep time leading up to it, and then you crash and burn.
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, and then we have to go to Canada. We're going to Canada. For our theater tour in the fall.
To Stratford.
Yes, and Toronto.
How fabulous.
It's fabulous, and I'm so excited.
Are there still spaces available?
Some. It's selling fast. I'm not kidding.
chestertheater.org.
Theater with a R-E, right? Yes, okay. The Canada trip, I'm thrilled. Last time we went was in 2018, and we were supposed to go in 2020, and everybody knows how that went. And then we always do London in March. So we're just always, prepping for the next thing. It doesn't feel like we sort of take a break, but you can't really.
So people can already order their London theater tickets now?
They can fill out the enrollment form. Yeah, but we do all of the planning and all of the, and everything is going to be on our website. And then, of course, if you come to the theater, we'll have literature that will give you some
Talk more
info.
about Toronto and Stratford.
Oh, well, so we're flying out of Bradley. It's a quick flight. We fly into Toronto. We actually immediately go to the festival, and we are seeing Twelfth Night and Romeo and Juliet and this really lovely play called A Salesman in China, which is about Arthur Miller's time in China. And we are also seeing 2 plays in Toronto, which is TBA. So we'll spend a couple days at the festival. We'll spend some time in Toronto, and that's an exciting city. And then we'll come home.
How did you discover that Toronto and the Stratford Festival were vibrant theater cities?
Well, I mean, I always knew that Stratford was, had this amazing, festival, and it goes, I think, through the month of October, but it's already started. So, and they've got these shows kind of running in rep, so it's really exciting. We're going during a slower time, and there was a few plays that we will have missed by the time we get there. But Toronto does have a pretty intense theater scene. I mean, and a lot of TV and film gets done there too. It's just a great city.
They use Toronto as New York in filming a lot of movies and television.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be beautiful. It'll be fall. It'll be, some nice travel between the 2 places too.
So one of the things that makes Chester kind of unique is the fact that you often have talkbacks with the cast talks with the audience afterwards, or the director, or you have experts in the field. I remember seeing the one-person show you did on the Exhale.
Yep.
And coming back for the talkback about that, because the play bothered me a great deal, and I wanted to learn more about it. Are you scheduling those this summer?
Oh yeah, we have talkbacks after every matinee, and then we will also do a cast conversation the second Friday night of the run, and then we'll have a panel, which will be the first Sunday after the first Sunday matinee. So. And we're still sort of filling out what that is. But James will be doing all of the talkbacks just because, or I probably will do some too. I mean, I'm here, so I'll just come out. I know last year during Circle Mirror, the whole cast just loved to come out and chat, no matter what it was, even if it wasn't labeled a cast conversation. So, and that's what our audiences are really used to here, and that's what kind of what makes us unique. Not that other places don't have these sort of
Other places have them, but it's really what sort of put Chester on the map because, again, with On the Exhale, the play that you did, it was a very disturbing play at the time. And hearing from experts about what we had witnessed made it a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, just having people. Yeah, because there is sort of like this, there's not a happy ending, there's not even really a feeling of closure at that. So to have somebody come in and sort of be a person that the audience could ask questions of, and there was almost sort of like we can kind of decompress in that way, But that play was tough, and some people didn't want to stay. They wanted to get out of the theater as quick as possible. So yeah, a pretty divisive experience for our audience.
But every once in a while you need something like that that's really going to get an audience on edge and make them stop and think about their lives. Although we all really, when we say we're going to the theater tonight, what do we want? Number one is to be entertained, because real life is tough as it is, but I don't know, I think theater can do a great job of educating people and enlightening people when it's done right. And a play with serious overtones that causes you to think is the best kind of theater there is.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
I agree. I agree.
Do you think people will walk out of the first play questioning?
Questioning?
Yes. I hope.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Lucas's writing is not gonna. I don't think people will come away with the same. Everyone will have their own individual experience with this play, and there will be, I think, hopefully, a lot of conversations started out of this and discussions.
Is this the first time you've been involved with Chester?
Yeah, I've seen shows, and like I said, I went to Smith, so I know many people who've been involved and people in New York who've been involved. But yeah, it's my first time directing.
So, I mean, obviously because Tara is a teacher at Smith, you heard about Chester along the way, but this is your first time to actually direct.
Yeah, yeah.
Has it met your expectations? I mean, you knew it was a small theater in Chester, Massachusetts, but did you realize what a family it was?
Yes, of course. Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. It's met my expectations and it's exceeded them. Yeah, I'm having a wonderful time. Yeah, yeah. It's great.
And when you're up here as a guest director, do you commute back and forth to Northampton, or do you live up here?
I live just next door, so it's a very short commute. It's a very short commute.
Yeah, I picked her up from New York,
Yeah.
you know, at the train station, and then she's right next door with our stage manager and another actor.
People want. Is there stuff to do in Chester before or after a performance?
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
couple of things. Well, I mean, if you're here for a matinee, there's a wonderful diner, Carm's, which is right on Route 20, not even a half a mile from the theater. Great place to get breakfast and lunch. And I think they serve breakfast all day. And then we also have the Chester Common Table, which is down the street, serving, I think, lunch on weekends, but also does, you know, dinner and live music too, Friday and Saturday nights, which goes pretty late. So, yeah, there's nice places to kind of sit and talk about the play after, you know, or talk about what you're about to see. Or
And a lot of people know about the train station
Yeah.
because it has a small museum
Yep.
attached to it.
It does, and I think they're like making some sort of Airbnb thing out of like one of the parts of the train, the old parts of the train. Anyway, they're doing something down there, and it looks pretty exciting. So, and I know we couldn't rehearse in there, so
So this show, the opener, is rehearsing now and getting ready for the opening next week.
right.
It opens the night before this airs on TV. Where's the second show at this point? Is that already rehearsing?
Well, and I think you'll be talking to Jay and James about this, UNRECONCILED, which was our mid-season event last year, and now we're putting on a full production. That is, well, because Jay continues to work on this, they don't need as much rehearsal time. I mean, he's been sort of doing it, and he and James have been working on it for so long. So he will start rehearsals during the first week of our run. And then we'll close on the 30th, and they will come in here in tech, and then it will open that week.
And then the following show goes into rehearsal as the next one goes up. That's a tight schedule.
It's tight, yeah, and it's, you know, challenging to find places for people to stay. You know, we are very lucky. We have this access to this house across this, right next door to the theater, and then we have a property, you know, a stone's throw up the road that we are housing, you know, sort of full-time people for the summer.
And what about sets? I mean, it's a small stage, so where do the sets and costumes get stored?
Okay, so great question. We actually build our sets off-site. We have Alan Schneider, who's also our technical director. He has a build studio, and he's an amazing carpenter and set builder, and he's contracted through a lot of different companies, but we get him for the summer. He's ours. And so he builds all of that, and he trucks it in, and we have all the help we have, and and then the first couple of sets are pretty simple. The last two sets are going to be a little bit more intense. So, yeah, he's got some work cut out for him. In terms of costume, you know, we do contemporary theater, so we don't have like a huge back storage of like period costumes or anything like that. We don't use them, and a lot of these shows are not necessarily built, but they're shopped or bought. Yeah, so. Not a lot of storage for costumes.
And what happens to the set? When this show closes, what happens to the set? Does it get broken down?
It does.
And recycled, or does it
At times,
get burnt?
Absolutely. And these are, this is a pretty simple set in terms of just, it's panels. And so, I'm sure Alan will definitely take them back and recycle them and do something else with them. With a set like, last summer, like Guards at the Taj, which was very specific, structures. I don't know how much of that got saved, but yeah, just depends, show to show.
How many people are involved in this first play?
Okay, so Gabby's directing. We have the four-person cast. We have a stage manager, Meg Leiden, who was an intern here years ago and is now, we love to have her back in the summer. We have 2 interns working on the show. One of them is a stage management intern, and one of them is an administrative and acting or artist intern, and they are assisting Gabby. And yeah, and then once we're into the space, and of course we have our designers. Laura Dubin's doing lights. The set is Yishen.
Joe.
Yeah.
And then we've got James McNamara doing sound.
Yep.
And Arthur Oliver doing costumes.
Yeah.
So, and then we have the whole intern. I mean, it's kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
this is a great place for somebody who's a theater student to intern because they get a lot of experience.
They do, and it's a small group, so they have their focus, but they also get to learn a lot of things, especially during tech rehearsals where, we need as many hands as we can get, and even if they're working in stage management, we can say, hey, can you, hold this ladder for the, or whatever it is. They are all learning a lot of different skills this summer and having a good time, I think.
And you've been at Chester for how many years?
My first show here was in 2016 when we moved out of New York. That was the sister play, and then I acted a couple times here over the next couple of years, and then in 2019 I kind of came on full time as director of education and also associate artistic director. So yeah, 8 years, I would say. Yeah.
And since you and James have taken over the theater, it's maintained a lot of the good things that it had in the past, but you're taking it in new directions.
Yeah, we are, in really exciting ways. So the thing we're doing now is we have this mid-season event, and we have the intern company produce it. So they're going to use the skills that they've used for the first couple of shows that we've produced, and then we kind of give them the reins. And so they will design, and they will stage manage, and they will produce and dramaturgy and all of that stuff. So that's kind of a cool thing that we started, and it was so successful last year with Unreconciled, and this year we have Bill Bowers coming back and doing his show. So really, really fun stuff.
Do you think that Unreconciled or Bill Bowers' show will go elsewhere from here?
I know Unreconciled will. Bill has been doing this show since, I saw it 20 years ago. And it's autobiographical, and so he's had 20 more years of life to add to it. And
So the show's been updated and obviously updated.
Yeah. So
and I've heard that Unreconciled has a future. It's going to Ireland to a theater festival and then off-Broadway.
Yeah. So very exciting stuff. Very exciting.
That's just so great.
Yeah.
So chestertheater.org is the place to go to get information and tickets. And the Chester Theater is located in the Chester Town Hall, and there's parking around. You can get a bite to eat beforehand at a couple of places. And it's really a great place to see theater in an intimate style. I know when Chester Theater was founded, it was founded as the miniature theater of Chester because they were going to do small plays in small spaces with big impact.
Yes.
And you've kind of built on that.
Yeah, we do. That's kind of where we're at. We don't hire more than, we have about 12 actors per season. We do small shows, small casts. Because it is, it's not a huge space, and we don't have a ton of space back there.
I noticed. I actually was on this stage maybe 10 or 11 years ago. There was a benefit performance done for Chester, and an author who wrote books about musical theater was going to do a reading and book signing, and he wanted to be interviewed.
Oh, okay.
So we were up on the stage, but it was all mirrors for some show.
Oh.
It was really bizarre. I have photographs of it, and I go, what theme park were you at? But I think that the programs that you do are just so remarkable.
Yeah.
So we've been chatting with Tara Franklin and Gabby Farrah. They are involved in the opening of the Chester season. You can get information at chestertheater.org. We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more of the people involved in making good theater at Chester Theater Company. Pete Coles and Ken Stompsky are our engineers. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return after these messages.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles and Ken Stompsky are our engineers today, and we're very fortunate to be doing this program from the stage of the Chester Theater Company in Chester, Massachusetts. James Barry is the co-artistic director of Chester Theater, and Jay Sefton is the writer and star of Unreconciled, which opens on July 5th. And both of them are here to join me. It's kind of a reunion because James and Tara have always been on my Valentine's Day show for whatever reason, and we've been remote for many years because of the pandemic. And Jay was the first person I had on my show when I came back to work this winter. So we had a chance, and you can go and see that hour-long show with Jay Sefton. It's archived along with all of our other stuff on YouTube at WSKB Community Radio. Gentlemen, it's good to see both of you.
Oh, it's great to be here, Mark. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and thanks for letting us use Chester Theater.
Absolutely. Here we are. We're nearly done putting the first set in. It's a work in progress, but it's cool. Here's your sneak peek of the set of the first play.
Yeah. Don't tell, the second play has a different set.
It does.
It does, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you workshopped Unreconciled here last summer.
Yeah.
And had the chance, as we talked about on the radio and TV before, had a chance to rework it and rethink it. And then you did a production in East Hampton. Mm-hmm. And I know that right before this one relaunches, that you did something in Provincetown.
Right.
And then there's a future already attached to it that it's going to Ireland after the Chester run and
Right.
then to off-Broadway.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah, that last part, I'm not. Yeah.
I mean,
We're just willing it
You
into
know
being.
something more than I do.
no, but you had posted that to your website.
There are a couple dates in September at the New York Irish Center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
off-Broadway.
Okay.
It is. But you guys, you've both been working on it from the get-go, and now we're at round 2 of getting a full production here at Chester. How has it changed? How has the play changed since the workshop last year?
I mean, I would say when we did it here last year, there was no idea of what the reception was, what it would be like, you know. So I'm getting a little nervous actually just seeing the door that I came. This is the first time I've seen the door that I came out of last year, and it gives me some butterflies. So there's been certainly some line changes. Structurally, it's pretty much the same, and this is going to be really exciting because we'll have a full rehearsal process, a complete design team, and a full run. Usually, all this year it's been workshop performances, so they're usually like 1 or 2, but this will be a chance to really get 12 performances of it. Yeah.
And I suppose for you, as the creator of the play and as the actor, it changes in your head all the time, and you finish a show and you go, I should do this the next time, or why don't I add that down the road? For you as a director,
Yeah.
do you think of it the same way? You see it at Chester last year, you see it coming up and want to make twists and changes and then look at it down the road?
Boy, with a lot of other pieces, I think that would probably be the case, but the way Jay and I have been working, I feel like every time we get together and rehearse it for one of these workshops, and I'm sure it will be no different this time. We're about to start rehearsals for this production, the world premiere. We discover together we just keep finding these little ways to hone and refine to make sure the beating heart of the story is as clear and available to our audiences as possible. We just keep finding little ways to just keep polishing. There hasn't been much, large writ revelatory changes. It's pretty much mostly been since last summer, just finding little ways to make it clearer, more effective, and just to make sure that the story at the heart of the whole thing and Jay's message are really always at the forefront and not being obscured by anything else. So, and a lot of my job is really to stay out of this guy's way. I keep an eye on big picture stuff, but I feel like I'm in the audience every single time as Jay transforms between all the dozens of characters that he plays without any costume changes, without any props. It's fresh every time for me.
Well, and you had told me when we had talked before how you met James and how the play came together initially. For you, what made you decide this was a story you wanted to tell?
Wow. Well, a lot of things. I think when I first met Jay and we first had chats about his ideas for this show, I was absolutely intrigued. But when Len Berkman, who initially sort of set us up on what I like to call that first artistic blind date, he invited us over to a brunch at his house where Jay had a finished draft of the script. And Jay was, we're going to eat breakfast. That must have been a very difficult breakfast to eat, knowing at the end of it you were going to read this play for everyone for the first time. But Jay did the reading, and as soon as it was over, I called Tara and said, I know what we're doing for the mid-season event for our first season producing. I instantly connected with it. I happen to have been raised Catholic, so there are a lot of references in the play that I was quite familiar with, but that is not a prerequisite for getting everything you need to get out of this show, certainly. One of the things I also really liked about Jay's script is that it not only is it telling a very specific story about abuse and learning how to deal with it and finding your voice, but it also, to me, something I really connected to, it's a real blue-collar story. It's a working-class story. And I grew up with people like this in my Irish American family and Polish American family, and so there's also a real love letter to people, I think, who don't have funds and resources that a lot of other people do, and how that makes decision making in a family more difficult. And so there's a lot that I connected to about it, and not only that, just Jay's ability to weave such humor and heart through such difficult subject matter is just, I've never seen a one-person show like it. And so I couldn't be prouder to be producing it and directing again now.
There seems to be a lot of one-people shows around. Hartford Stage has one right now, the 2.5-minute ride. Sandra by David Cale is playing at Theater Works in Hartford. You're doing yours. It must be a real challenge for both you as the actor and writer and you as the director to put together a one-person show where it's your responsibility and yours to keep the audience fixated on one person for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the beauties of a play like Unreconciled that Jay and Mark have written is that a lot of one-person shows, and I've performed them too, where you're just one character the whole time. And I know a lot of audiences are reticent to, oh gosh, I just don't want to be listening to one person talk the whole time. When you watch Unreconciled, you're seeing Jay become 15 different people. And there are characters that you just totally fall in love with and you can't wait for them to come back. And so there are moments where he's having conversations between 3 characters at the same time, maybe 4 at certain points, where he's all of them. So it's a very different mode of one-person show storytelling.
But I remember your one-person show, I guess it was Chester at Hancock Shaker Village in the season that you went out there to perform.
Yes.
And it was on a kind of like a patio next to a pasture. And your one-person show became a 3-animal show because the cows came over during the middle of one of your most serious monologues and started mooing.
Yes, yeah. Comes with the territory. I was friends with all those gals by the end of the run.
Yeah,
I love those cows.
They were great co-stars. You're not going to have that fortune here. There's not an animal farm next door.
We're not sure. I mean, we may build it in. Like, with the design team, who knows if there might be some animals passing
There's been a lot of bears in Chester this summer so far, so we're just going to keep the doors closed and hope for the best,
But they don't come to the theater. Find out about Unreconciled by going to Chester's website, chestertheater.org, and getting your tickets in advance. There are backgrounders on all of the plays for this season, plus an upcoming theater trip to Ontario, to Toronto, and the Shaw Festival.
The Stratford Shakespeare Festival. Yeah.
Excuse me. And then there'll be a London theater trip next winter that you'll want to take part of. And Chester Theater really is kind of a miracle child here. You've got the big theaters, Barrington and Shakespeare and Company and Berkshire Theater Group. But over the years, Chester developed from being, quote, the miniature theater of Chester into this viable, exciting theater company that's not quite in the Berkshires and not quite in the Valley.
Yeah. And this summer, we're celebrating our 35th birthday as a theater company, as a professional theater company, which is cause for celebration no matter how you look at it. But when it's a small professional theater in a rural town emerging from a pandemic in an era when the funding for the National Endowment for the Arts is less than half of what it was in the 1990s, it's something of a miracle. I agree with you, Mark. And that is due in no small part to our extraordinary audiences, who our amazing predecessors, Vincent Dowling, Byam Stevens, Daniel Kramer, have cultivated this audience season after season. And as Tara very astutely said once, it's like we get to be a second stage without a main stage. So we've cultivated an audience that is hungry for new, cutting-edge, contemporary, exciting work, and it is such a pleasure to deliver it.
But I remember when I was working at Stage West way back in the days of old.
Oh, yes.
And Eric Hill and I were sitting there, and Vincent Dowling came in to introduce himself and talk about this theater, and he had this wonderful Irish brogue, and I'm going to make this big theater company in Chester, Massachusetts. And we just looked at each other and said, good luck. Who would go to Chester to go to a play? And where are you going to do it? Well, we're going to do it in the town hall. And I thought, this doesn't sound promising, but 35 years later, look what happened.
Oh, I know. It's very inspiring. When we took our fall trip to Ireland last fall, the theater tour, and the artistic director of the Dublin Theatre Festival gave me a copy of Vincent Dowling's autobiography, Astride the Moon, and the whole last chapter is all about moving to Chester, and just to read that, was an extra shot in the arm of inspiration getting ready for this season.
But 35 years in theater is quite a bit. I mean, the American repertory theater scene really developed 65 years ago, and Hartford Stage and Long Wharf and some of the majors just celebrated their 60th, and that was when the National Endowment for the Arts was saying, put theaters all over the country. Mm-hmm. But then there was the ebb and tide and flow of everything, and it's been a rough few years for every theater.
Yes, it's been very sad to see a lot of theaters have to modify their programming, or in the worst cases, shutter their doors. It's been horrible to see, but we're very fortunate again to have the support system we do, the individuals that continue to sponsor our productions every summer and donate, and the audiences that come year after year. I mean, we couldn't do it without them. It's why we're still here. I like to joke that we're too small to fail, but that's not really true.
No, you're never too small to fail. No. But you and Tara have been able to build a theater company that's like a family, and you're able to work in the Western Mass, which a lot of people just dream of doing. And you, Jay, you've built a career here. It seems like a renaissance for your career here in Western Massachusetts.
Yeah, totally. I did not see this coming. This past year has been my 52nd year was my best year as an actor, which is, and I've got but I think a lot of it stems from having built the career as a mental health counselor. That's like the scaffolding underneath being able to work at some of these places, and the work feeds this work and vice versa. But yeah, it's been really nice and unexpected and quite a thrill.
But you've had, in addition to doing Unreconciled, this last year, you've been all over the map. You were at Wham Theater, you were at Majestic, you were at Capitol Rep in Albany.
Yeah.
So you did a lot of theater work, and it wasn't just Unreconciled.
No. Yeah, it's an amazing place to live out here, a great arts community, and there's opportunity, and it's been really nice.
I know that you're primarily focused on Unreconciled because it's your next venture together. But do you have things that you're working on for after Unreconciled?
Well, I think it's okay to say this. We'll
Go
say
for
it. In the short term, I'm going to play Jim Tyrone in Moon for the Misbegotten at the Majestic in November, early December. So I mean, there's that. I have to start learning some lines for that. Other than that, I don't know.
That's a big part to take on.
Yeah.
It's a big part for that a big show for that theater to take on as well.
Yeah.
You doing all 7 hours?
I don't know. Dinner breaks. I think there's going to be a cut. And
It's such a good play. You're going to be amazing in that. I can't wait. You got to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be fun. But you know, I want to see where things can go with Unreconciled, and just, you know, if I could continue doing, if a few years after this looked like the last one, I'd be real happy. That'd be nice.
What is it about the Valley and the theater community in the Valley that you find exciting?
People go see theater. They want to go see it. There's a lot of times where things are sold out and people are like, oh, I wanted to go see that, but I could. I mean, it's there's a respect for it, and there's a lot of people doing it, and a lot of people going to see it. That's exciting, and the people that are doing it have a feel about it. Like here, and working with James and Tara has the same feel as to when I got into acting. You know, that family thing of getting close with people and wanting to go spend time with them after a rehearsal and stuff. I think that's here. It's magical.
There's definitely a family feeling. I mean, whether it's here at Chester or Berkshire Theater Group or Barrington Stage, there are certain people that come back every year, and they may go from one theater to the other. I know you and Tara have done Berkshire Theater Group, and you've done, you know, here and stuff like that. But it is when all of the theater world in Western Mass gets together, it's really like family. And I'm so thrilled to be able to work in this environment and to be able to be an arts reporter and share your artistry with the public. But I'm treated as one of the family here when I come to Chester or go to Barrington or Berkshire Theater Group. And as a reporter in other theaters and other communities, I'm not treated that way. So it makes my ability to do good arts reporting so much better because of the family feeling that I get working with you and you.
Oh, well, yeah, we feel the same
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
I mean, it's that family feeling is how we're able to sustain these careers. You know, it's great to get to do things you love professionally. It's even better when, you know, you are delighted to go see someone every day at work who you feel like is your brother. You know, it's. You know, and then of course, you know, we only have 12 actor contracts a season, so all those people in our orbit, our extended family, you know, there's not a home for them every year, which is heartbreaking. You know, even now, 3 weeks into the season, you know, I'm preemptively trying not to be heartbroken about having to say goodbye to this year's batch of interns at the end of the summer, because we're already, you know, developing such a close-knit community.
Yeah, but they'll come back.
Oh, yes.
It's like the director for the last show was here as an intern. They come back.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, Hero Marguerite, who will be in the last show, she was an intern, and she was in Circle Mirror Transformation last year. Meg Lydon, who's stage managing the first show, was an intern here the first year I acted here in Wittenberg back in 2011. Yeah, people come back, and we are grateful.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to get to spend time with you guys here today. I can't wait to see Unreconciled.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
I'm so looking forward to that, and seeing the other shows in the season too. But thanks for having us here. This is the first time that Artsbeat has gone back on the road in a couple of years, and I'm so thrilled that the first return to going out on the road would be here at Chester.
Oh, we're so delighted to have you, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've been talking with Jay Sefton and James Barry. Jay Sefton's play Unreconciled opens July 5th. James Barry's directing it, and he's the co-artistic director of everything else that goes on here at Chester this summer. Go to chestertheatre.org to find out more of what's happening. And this wraps up this edition of Artsbeat. Peter Coles and Ken Stomsky have been our engineers this morning. We'll be back next week with another Artsbeat here at Chester Theatre Company, so join us then.
Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're going to the promised land. We're heading across the river, wash your sins away in the tide. It's all so peaceful on the other side. Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. Chase your cares away. Hallelujah, get happy before the judgment day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're gonna be going to the promised land. We're heading across the river, wash your sins away in the tide. It's quiet and peaceful on the other side. Forget your troubles, get happy, your cares fly away. Shout hallelujah, get happy, get ready for your judgment day. Come on, get happy, chase your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy, get ready for the judgment day. Sun is shining, come on, get happy. Lord is waiting to take your hand. Hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're going to the promised land. Heading across the river, throw your sins away in the tide. It's all so peaceful on the other side. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready for the judgment day.
Get her into that for the reprise.
Oh. How'd you like it? Don't know, huh?